Hello, guys. Trying not to say what's up this time. So, how are you guys doing today? I am doing fantastic. It is a beautiful Sunday. I am so blessed to be breathing this air I am breathing, and I am just so thankful for this journey thus far. So, if you guys don't know who I am, my name is Marissa, and I do videos mainly on mental health, spirituality, my animals, kind of my everyday life every once in a while, but mainly just preaching mental health and how important it is for us and our future and our future's future. Because as you guys can kind of tell with where our world is at this moment, mental health is something that needs to be taken very, very seriously. And for a while, I lived in a world where it was bad if you talked about mental health, and the bad stuff that happens in your life, you just kind of keep quiet about it. And that's why I'm making this video today, because I'm done being quiet about it. I'm done letting it control me silently, because this is something that if you don't let go of, it will destroy you, and it has destroyed me for many, many years. So, the truth about being molested and how it affects your adult life, the first few years in it. Because once you get away from your family, and once you become like your own person in your own little town, in your own little world, you kind of now have the chance to reflect back on your childhood, and you get to know new people who tell you about their childhood, and you're like, wow. And then you go to exchange a story and you realize how much more depressing and sad and kind of taboo your stories are compared to the rest of the world, and you realize you're different. You realize you're very, very different from a lot of people, and you realize it's very hard to get people to admit this and talk about it. So, I'm gonna do it. But fucks you up. Fucks you up a lot. As a child, growing up, I swore it would not get the best of me. That it wasn't going to define... I'm already crying. Fuck my life. I'm talking about this because I know it's going to be coming up in therapy soon. I know I'm going to have to visit this subject very, very soon with my therapist, who doesn't know yet, and actually have a heart-to-heart conversation with my mom about this, because as I get deeper into this video, you guys will understand why my mom plays a huge role in my mental health and how much she fucked it up too. Excuse my language in this video, but honestly, cursing means honesty. Whereas the only words I feel like truly captivate how I feel about this scenario. I don't cuss unless I'm very passionate about what I'm saying, and this video is as about close to me as you will ever see, because I don't even let some of my deepest friends see me get this emotional over this subject, because it's like this pain is the pain that has never closed. The wound is still wide open. It still gets jabbed to this day, and you can't trust people near that pain because it can't get any more painful. Like, you can't get near this pain or me to talk about this because I can't disturb it. It already... Oh, fuck. Okay, I could do this video. Ooh. Okay. First of all, I want to talk about why I'm doing this video in the first place. So I know the generation that's obsessed with YouTube is a younger generation. I understand that. One day, this little generation is going to grow up and they're going to have the emotions I'm going through right now. Some of them are going to have the realization that that pain doesn't go away. And, you know, what I would have done to see one of these videos at that age, or at 19 or 20. And I actually haven't watched many videos on this topic because a lot of you guys say it seems like I speak from my heart, and it's because I don't necessarily look too much at other YouTubers as to like what to do. I kind of am doing my own thing. I don't really care what trends are. I came on this platform to talk about my heart and talk about pain and talk about mental health and talk about fitness and talk about things that really matter, because that's the type of person I am. I don't, you know, pranks and funny things are cool, but I'm such a deep, not dark, but I'm just a deep person that loves to give people hope. So that's all. This is the only reason why I'm making this video, is to help other people out in the world that understands almost every word I'm about to say, and understand the tears that fall down my face. That's it. It's for you guys. It's not for the world that doesn't understand this place some of us have been taken down. It's not a club I ever wanted to join, but the people here are truly beautiful, including myself, as hard as it is to accept myself due to this. Back to the video. Okay. So, over the course of this past year, I have watched quite a few documentaries on this topic and rape and just any type of child abuse, because I wanted to be informed as to what I was talking about. So before I get any deeper and with any more tears, I'm going to read you guys a few statistics. 111. Oh my god, you guys. That is such a beautiful sign and message that I'm doing the right thing. Okay. It's so beautiful. I'm so grateful for that message. So beautiful. Okay. God, this video is gonna murder me. No, it's not. I'm strong enough to do this. Just need... So here are some statistics to calm me down for a little bit. 1 in 4 women and 1 out of 6 men are sexually abused in their lifetime. In 8 out of 10 rape cases, the victim knows the attacker. 1 in 2 transgender individuals will experience sexual violence. 1 in 4 bisexual women will experience sexual violence. 2 in 5 gay men will be sexually abused. Nearly 6 out of 10 sexual assaults occur in the victim's home or the home of a friend, relative, or neighbor. 13.3% of college women say they have been forced to have sex in a dating situation. Only 28% of victims report their sexual assault to the police. Only about 2% of all sexual assaults reported to police turn out to be false. Among developmentally disabled adults, up to 83% of females and 32% of males are victims of sexual violence. Approximately 5 children die every day because of child abuse. 1 out of 3 girls and 1 out of 5 boys will be sexually abused before they reach age 18. 9% of child sexual abuse victims know the perpetrator in some way. 68% are abused by a family member. In 2012, 82.2% of child abuse perpetrators were found to be between ages 18 and 44, of which 39.6% were recorded to be between the ages of 25 and 34. Children who experience child abuse and neglect are 59% more likely to be arrested as a juvenile, 28% more likely to be arrested as an adult, and 30% likely to commit violence crime. About 80% of 21-year-olds who were abused as children meet criteria for at least one psychological disorder. 14% of all men and 36% of all women in prison were abused as children. Abused children are less likely to practice safe sex, putting them at greater risk for STDs. They're also 25% more likely to experience teen pregnancy. You know, after I watched documentaries and after I did my research, I couldn't help but feel so sad, because that means as a kid, when I would sit in the classroom after a terrible night of either being molested or being verbally and physically attacked by my stepfather, I'd have to go to school and sit there, and it's like you're there, but you're not there. Every second that passes by, it's just, you feel drugged. You feel like all the life was taken out of you. And you don't know you don't know how to act. And then you see all these kids and you wonder what their home is like. And if they go through what I go through, or if it's just my home. But knowing the statistic that 1 in 3 girls and 1 in 6 men means there was at least 10 of us in every classroom that were being sexually abused, mentally abused, physically abused, just abused. And no one in fucking school talked about it. No one asked me. No one told me. And that to me is the biggest bullshit ever. Because I had to grow up very fast. I had to grow up so fast. But you couldn't do anything that grown-ups do. You're stuck there. Anyway, back to the adult part. So, After the first time it happened, I have never been able to describe it. I've never been able to illustrate it for people to understand what I'm feeling or what I felt in those moments, but I watched this beautiful documentary, and this woman said, when this happens to a child, it is as if you just sucked their soul out of their body and you leave them there to live the rest of their lifetime with no soul. You kill their soul in that moment. And that was the most raw answer and truth I've ever heard for what I felt. I felt like I was this beam of light, this little girl that was so happy, that was so alive. And after that night, I just went blank. Like, my whole soul was taken from me. And every day, I fight to get it back. So, let's get into how it happened. As a child, I was very intuitive. I feel people. That's my thing. Everyone, I believe, has their thing. Mine is I feel people. I feel their energies very, very strong. I have the guttiest of the gut feelings. I just know people. And at a young age, I knew the woman in my family suffered from something. I just didn't have the vocabulary, but I knew that they weren't strong. I just could feel that my mom, my aunt, and my grandma just weren't strong women. There was a part of them that was broken, and I don't blame them. Now that I know their whole upbringing and their childhood and the times they come from, I get it. But as a kid, I knew something was off. And my mom was the sweetest person, but she let everyone walk all over. She would just let everything go by, and it aggravated me. I just wanted her to stick up for herself. I mostly sticked up for her my whole life. Every single time someone treated her badly, I would defend her. But my mom was a very hurt person, you could just tell. She was very sad. And I wanted to do anything that made her happy. Like, my whole universe was my mom. She was a single mom. I spent majority of my time with her. I was a mama's girl. Like, I love my mom. That's what makes it even harder. It's what makes it even harder, I swear to God. But anyway, she met this guy named Bobby, and I remember meeting him and getting the worst vibe I've ever gotten from anyone. But I saw my mom smile, and I haven't seen my mom smile in so long, so it made me happy. I was like, okay, this is what makes her happy. Whatever vibe I got, whatever, I want to see her happy. And she asked me, she came into my room one night and she's like, so what do you think about him? And every part of the voice inside of my head was screaming, tell her you don't like him, tell her you don't like him, tell her you don't like him, tell her you get the worst feeling from him. But I didn't want to ruin her smile. She just, you know, met this person that she really likes. So I said I liked him. Biggest mistake of my life to this day. And I know I made a video of this in the past, surviving childhood trauma, but I feel like that doesn't just get straight to what I feel like is one of the core things in my mental health, is my daddy issues, my mommy issues, and being molested as a child, and being verbally and mentally abused, sometimes physically, for a majority of my childhood. Fun times, guys, fun times. Okay, so I was 8 when it first happened. If you know about the subconscious mind, it thrives at this time. Like, this is its time when it is just making up its mind for how it's gonna rule the next, you know, years of your life. If you don't work on it, it could run your whole life if you don't get a hold of your subconscious mind. Hence why I did 5-MeO DMT. I was like, if you're gonna, you know, redo my subconscious mind, I'm all for it. Like, let's do this. So yeah. It happened. He wasn't one that did it like every night. It just would be sporadic to his timing. But I was at an age where I didn't know what was going on. You know, I didn't have the vocabulary to express what I knew he was doing, but I knew it felt really wrong. And what he would do is he was extremely bipolar. And he had a lot of mental illnesses. Like, he had a lot of mental illnesses. And you just never knew what mood he would be in. And you kind of accepted it when it was in a good mood. Because when he was in a good mood, it was decent. When he was in a bad mood, it's like everything was just, you couldn't even go downstairs to get a glass of water without just being verbally attacked for something. You just always heard shouting. It just, you know, not what you want to be at, not what you want your home to be like. So he would sometimes get in these good moods, and he had a son that was my stepbrother, and he would play games with us, and then he would start tickling us and like just, I don't know, playing with us. And I didn't understood why, because he was never nice to me. So I just was kind of like, what's going on? But I at the same time wanted him to like me a lot. So I would just like play along in a sense. And he was just doing that, and we were all laughing and having a good time, and then all of a sudden he put his hands down my pants and he started tickling my pee-pee, as I would refer to that back then. My private part, he started tickling it, and I would try to get away from him, but he was a big guy, so it's not like I could. And he would like touch my breast area, which I didn't have boobs. I was a kid. He would just tickle my whole body, basically. And he would do this in front of his son, and his son would see what was going on to me. And I don't know if he ever tickled Joe back the way he tickled me, but I instantly knew it wasn't right. I instantly was like, no, 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 no. So every time all of a sudden he was in a good mood, I would panic because I would have rather him been in a bad mood, because if he was in a bad mood, the only thing he would do is, you know, say mean shit to me, which he already said everything he could say to me. But if he was in a good mood, as long as he wasn't in a good mood, I was okay. But the moment he was in a good mood, I was panicked, because that meant he'd want to play, and I don't know. So I don't know how many times it happens. You know, there's this thing your brain does when it gets fucked up like that. It tries to forget everything, and it does its work. It really has. I have to go into like a really deep hypnosis meditation thing to remember exact times of it, because I've really worked hard of letting it go, and my brain tries to protect me. So yeah, but I do remember I started going to bed every night with belts on. I never was in my PJs anymore. I never wore a nightgown. I literally would wear jeans with my belt on as tight as I could, and I'd go to sleep like that. And especially like if I had to get up and if I was thirsty at night, like no way. Like there's no way he would catch me outside of my room. Yeah. So then, so I realized I knew it was something really awful. I just, couldn't exactly put the vocabulary together. And I asked my mom. It's so weird. Once I shut down my emotions earlier on in the video, it's like my emotions are trying to shut off. They like don't want me to go this deep because it's really painful. The memories are very suppressed in here. So my mind is having a really hard time right now going back there. It's very funny what your brain does to you to like protect you from this stuff. But it's okay. Like my brain needs to know it's okay. Like it's okay. I can go here. I can let this go. I can let this be free. The inner girl, like the inner child in me, is still so embarrassed that this happened to her. I always wondered my whole childhood, like, why is this happening to me? Like, I would sit there and just be so my whole childhood was dark. Every parent had something mentally wrong with them. And they weren't there for me at all. They were so in their own head, they were so in their own universe that they didn't see me. And growing up in an environment like that will fuck you up more than you can imagine, because you were taught that you are invisible and that your emotions are not valid. Now try to set that bird free and tell it to go fly and do great things with its lifetime, because this is a wonderful experience. You're like, what the fuck? No. Does it end yet? Can it end? Like, I don't want to do this. Like, I don't want to be here. Like, that was my whole childhood, you guys. It was just like, why am I here? Why? Back to the subject. There's a lot of things I want to talk about. So, just darkness. My whole childhood is just darkness. There's a few moments where I could smile, but majority of it was dark. Majority of it was so fucked up that when I really talk about it, people are just, they don't know what to say. I don't know what to say about it. I'm just trying not to let it rule my life, because those memories, man. I was obsessed with Dr. Phil and Oprah as a kid, like obsessed, because you got to hear about stories that other homes were not good like yours. So I became obsessed with Oprah and Dr. Phil, and my mom was obsessed with it and my grandma was obsessed with it. So we basically always watch it every day together. And there was this one day, for some reason, I was watching it in my room by myself, and I was on the floor. I remember this clear as day, like as clear and crisp as any memory as I have. It's this one. I was sitting there and I was playing with something on the ground, and Oprah was on in the background, and they say this word, child molestation, and I was like, what? Because it automatically like kind of is like a word that you're just like, what? And it all of a sudden like flashed to this girl telling her story about how her stepdad molested her. And I was just like, what? And like she was describing it, and Oprah was asking these questions, and it was as if this girl on the couch was me, and she was telling what was going on right now in my house. And like everything in my life froze, because I realized in that moment that it was such a bad thing that was happening to me, and no one in my life saw it and was protecting me from it. No one, not one person saw what was going on and protected me from it. So I then like instantly knew I had to tell someone. So I called my grandma. I went to my bathroom and I told my grandma, because I knew she watched the show every single day. And I got on the phone with her and I was like, Grandma, are you watching Oprah right now? And she was like, yes. And I was like, what that girl's saying on TV is happening to me right now. Bobby's doing that to me. And I just remember her going silent and then taking the biggest breath I've ever heard. And she was like, you need to tell your mother now. And like, at this point, I knew my mom was a hurt person. I told you guys this already. I already knew that something like this she wasn't strong enough for. I knew this couldn't be what was going on to her, especially because she was very pregnant with my little sister at the time. He was doing this while she was pregnant and before. So, oh man. I never realized it went on for that long. Fuck. Okay. Like I said, I haven't talked about this in depth in a very long time, or ever. Whew, okay, so I went. It was another clear as day memory. I remember she was in my room and I looked at her belly, because I was at the height level where I was at her stomach. I looked up at her and I don't remember what I said, but I remember looking at her face and seeing it deplete her. Like, I instantly saw all her biggest fears come to life. And it was all my fault. all her happiness gone because of me. I know it's not because of me anymore. But in that moment, it felt like it was all my fault. Like if I just wasn't here, he wouldn't do that. I just didn't want to be alive. Since that happened, and everything else, my dad, my mom, my grandma dying, just not having like a family, like I never wanted, I still, oof, don't go there. This is a beautiful experience. We are gonna find the beauty in this one day. Okay. And she told me in that moment she had to give up my little sister up for adoption. And I mean, you guys don't understand. A baby was gonna be my escape. I'd wanted a little sister or brother for so long. And then for my mom to say she was gonna give her up for adoption, oh my god. I know my mom, no, she should have never said that, but I wish she knew in that moment it was going to mess me up as much as it was going to mess me up. She's apologized for that statement over and over again, but she can't apologize to that 8-year-old girl again. 10-year-old girl at the time. I was 10 then. So, I instantly was like, no, 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 no. I take it all back, I take it all back. Like, come on, no, don't do that. My reaction, what else am I supposed to say? Yeah, get rid of my sister, like, no. Fucked me up. Fucked up everything. What do you expect a kid to do? I don't know. I don't know what my mom was thinking. I don't know. The one thing I asked her to do was I begged her to not make me confront him. And what did she do? She made me confront him. Do you know what it's like to even having to look into a 4-year-old man's eyes that loves to sit there and tickle your vagina and then tell him, I know what you're doing to me is wrong? Do you know how scared you are? You can't even look at his toes without wanting to peel out of your skin and run to Mars. I still don't understand what my mom was thinking. So, I took it all back. I agreed that it was because I just hated him and I didn't want him to be in my mom's life. So my mom let it go. She was mad at me. She got so mad at me for telling her that he was molesting me, and then I had to say it was a lie and get in trouble for telling a big lie. Normal. So she ends up having my sister, and we all get to have this joy that there's this new baby. And I have to still live with this monster every single day. But thankfully, since I, all of a sudden knew what the word molesting was, he stopped doing it because I think he was afraid of going to jail. So then he stopped doing that. But then he obviously hated me. absolutely fucking hated me. For about 2 years of my life, I lived with someone that treated me like a slave. Literally. I couldn't eat his food. I couldn't touch his food. I couldn't do a lot of things, and it was my mom's house. But he became so abusive to her that she just kind of went mute. So then I was in a house where I was living with the biggest monster that was ever going to be in my life, my mute mom, a newborn baby, and a stepbrother that knows everything that's going on. That is just like, get me the hell out of here. It was rough. But back to the adult part, now that you guys understand the back history of it. Once I got to about 15, 16 years old, it kind of didn't disappear out of my mind, but it stopped becoming a dominant thought. And I promised myself it wasn't going to destroy any more time of my childhood. I promised myself I wouldn't let it take me down that road of being the typical statistic of being fucked up because of what happened to me in my childhood. I don't know why I was so ashamed of that. Like, if you are so ashamed of your story because of what some monster did to you, fuck that, own it. Let him be the gross monster. You were just an innocent little child. You did nothing wrong. Anyone that has been in that position, you did nothing wrong. Nothing. I did nothing wrong. Nothing. But it ruined my subconscious mind in ways you just don't even understand. Like, it's the weirdest thing. I told you guys I met up with my dad the other day, and he gave me something that he doesn't even know he gave me, and that was a little piece of wisdom and knowledge. And it took me so far back. It was an awakening moment for me because it made so much sense, and what I'm about to say to you is so taboo and a little weird to admit, but I think it needs to be said. But basically my dad has very poor dental, and I have very beautiful teeth, but I just never had this urge to take care of them. It's weird. I'm not a gross person. I'm not a dirty person. But there's something that my body does subconsciously that makes me not want to take care of myself. And I didn't understand what it was because everything I do is clean and good, but subconsciously something goes on. And my dad, his teeth are very messed up now, and he said something. He said kids that were molested or sexually abused as children, the first thing they let go of is their dental because it makes them less attractive and it repels predators. And it literally was just like light bulb aha moment. Like, subconsciously, for so many years of my young teenage life and early adult life, I didn't understand why I was doing what I was doing when I knew this wasn't me. But there was something that would take over me that would make me not wash my hair for days in middle school. Like, I would go to school with the greasiest, nastiest hair. In middle school, I wouldn't brush my teeth. I wouldn't shower, I would just lay in filth. And I didn't understand why, because that wasn't me. Like, that wasn't me at all. And it's because I was so afraid of that happening to me again. It's the first thing you do, is you want to protect yourself from the rest of the world, because life isn't the movie where the person gets raped or this happens to them and then we watch their journey and then the movie ends and they live happily ever after. Like, life keeps going, and I don't want to even say this, but things like that can continuously happen to a woman until they're 60, 70. Like, women are always in crossfire of men that can't control their sexual desires, and same with men, same with teenage men, same with, like, it can just happen repetitively in your life. So subconsciously, once you get out of that situation, your subconscious mind is like, okay, like, what can I do to protect myself? Okay, like, let's make their teeth not be attractive, because then no one will want to do that to them again. Okay, let's not wash your hair or bathe because you don't want to be attractive, because you don't want that type of attention. But deep down, that's not the person I was. And for a long time, I had to fight against myself to get to a point where I am as clean as I am now. And I think it was through a lot of shadow work and self-love practice, because if I allowed my dominant subconscious mind that was back then still be here, I don't want to know the type of situation I would be in, or how much of myself I would be let go just to protect myself. And it is the saddest thing I've ever heard. Like, the fact that to protect yourself from the world, you're willing to let go of yourself. Like, oh man, it really hit me hard, because I did that for so long and didn't understand. What so many people don't understand is, like, yes, I have nice teeth, but I do have like some stains from being a teenager and literally having braces and just not brushing my teeth. I don't know what was wrong with me. I would be so mad at myself, but Bobby was still in my house. Like, he was still home, so I would do everything to be disgusting. Like, I would try to make myself as least attractive as possible, because I was starting to hit puberty. I was starting to become a woman, and I already had this person that liked me when I was a little girl. Imagine when I started getting boobs and an actual butt, and I was getting pubic hair. Like, I was so uncomfortable. I did everything to make myself unattractive. And it, like, literally made so much sense to me. Insane. And it also brought me to the awareness that I still do some of those things. I still will be just not, I just won't take care of myself. And I'm like, what is wrong with you? And the moment he said that, it like made me want to take back my power and take even better care of myself, because I'm not going to let that person win any more of my time. And that's why I'm making this video, to let you guys know it will fuck you up for as long as you let it. You have to have the guts to process it. You have to have the guts to be very aware that your subconscious mind is going to want to protect you from that chunk of your life. But you need to rewrite your subconscious mind in a healthier environment and understand that now you are the adult and you can protect yourself in ways of being an organized person and being a savvy person to your world, to just taking care of yourself. It didn't ruin my sex life. Thank God. It doesn't take that away from you, or at least it didn't in my case. I definitely have to be in my age range. There is no way in effing hell I've ever been attracted to anyone that is older than me, I think because of that. Like even, no, like you have to be my age, because anything older or younger, I just get creeped out, because it just creeps me out because of it. So but one thing I like can't be really, might be TMI, probably TMI, but like I cannot be tickled because of that situation. I can't, like people try to tickle me and I literally freak out. I had one ex-boyfriend that was determined that he can like get me to break in the tickling atmosphere, and I literally like socked him and kicked him in the face multiple times. Like gave him bloody noses because I was just like, I can't. Like I will self-defend myself if you try to tickle me. Like I just do not do it to me. It's not a reoccurring thought. It's just mainly the subconscious mind that it messed up of mine, but I consistently work on my subconscious mind. I'm always playing binaural beats, frequencies that release. Like this one actually playing right now is releasing pain bodies and old trauma. So I constantly have music like that playing around me. I just constantly have meditations of me letting go of those cords and memories. Actually, with my life coach, I created this place that is my safe place that I can go to, that that person can't ever get into. And whenever I'm having a really hard time, that is the place I'm supposed to visit. It really does mess you up. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not gonna beat around the bush, but you just have to remember every day that you allow to pass by, where you allow that situation to have control, you're letting that person win. And that is my biggest fear, is letting that person win. He not only did things like that to me, but he also loaded my subconscious mind with terrible things like, you're the ugliest child I've ever seen, you're stupid, you're not going to make anything of yourself, you'll be lucky if someone knocks you up by the time you're 18 and you just become a mom. Like, you just say terrible, terrible things to my subconscious mind that I have to sit there and try to escape from. So every single time I'm really struggling and I hear those thoughts, I have to remind myself, do I want that person to win? I think this is going to be a continued video. I feel like I have so much to say, and I feel like I'll get really off topic, but I think this is going to be a consistent topic I'm going to revisit because there is so much that goes into it. And I just want to get this off of my chest before my next therapy session, because I do know, I have a great feeling the next therapy session is going to go this direction. And I just wanted to be mentally prepared for it, so I thought, why not share it with you guys and get it off of my chest and kind of give someone else out there some advice that I've learned from that experience and that I'm going to be learning more of. Before it's already healed, and I don't want to, or I'll visit it, but I won't have this much pain attached to it, because this is the first time in a long time I'm even talking about this. I don't talk about it really ever. I don't share it often, so it's something that if you get it out of me, you get it out of me. It's not going to happen on the daily. But yeah, I want to take you guys through the process of healing, being a victim of being sexually abused as a child and being molested. I am nowhere near healed on this topic. Like, I don't even know where to begin with it. So cheers to trying to figure it out. All I gotta say is it's messed up, you know, from 18 to now, 24, so good 6 years. But I'm gonna break this cycle now. I'm gonna beat this thing before 25. I'm gonna erase it all from my subconscious mind. I'm gonna rewrite my reality. I'm gonna forgive it. I'm gonna move on from it. I'm gonna teach some of you guys how to do it because I'm determined to not allow that to dictate my whole life. It already got so much time. It doesn't need any more time. It needs to be released. Those demons, that pain body, that trauma, just let it back out into the universe. I actually need to sage this area and this camera and this energy right here because it is a dark place. I don't like to visit it. But, like I said, we'll come back to this topic, and if you're watching this video and something like this happened to you, I've never had words for myself to comfort myself through it, but if I were to talk to myself, my little girl self, and you, I just want to say that I think it happened because we are very strong. I think it happened so that we can have more empathy for the world. I think it happened to, I don't know. I like to try to tell myself it happened because I'm meant to do something with that pain. I'm not meant to keep it. I'm meant to make it where I want to change something in the school systems to where there's a once a month talk to talk about what could be happening, really in a kind, not therapeutic way. Get kids to open up, for teachers to be more aware of signs, for there to be videos, cartoons that kids can watch to understand if that ever happens to them. It's not okay to tell their parents right away. So many cases. I didn't tell anyone else after that. I lived with it for many years. I just want people to know, to talk about it before it's too late, before it takes you too far down a rabbit hole, because it took me down a rabbit hole. I'm still in that rabbit hole, and if we're just taught that this is something that we can talk about more freely, maybe it won't happen to as many children. Just heal. 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 But I'm going to wrap up this video, and like I said, we're going to revisit this topic. I just let out a lot of things that are very hard for me. But thank you all so much for listening to me. Thank you all so much for being here. I appreciate you guys more than you could ever imagine. And I really pray that this message is very clear, that all I'm here trying to do is help people become their best selves and to heal themselves. No other reasoning. I'm not sharing this story for sympathy. I'm not sharing this story for I'm sorries or anything. I'm sharing it for the 10-year-old girl right now living the life I lived, because I'm not the only person that has experienced this. And maybe one day when she's 16 on YouTube and she's having a hard day and she types in being molested as a child, a video like this one or another one comes up and gives her sign of hope that you do move on from that time of your life. But just know you have to take care of yourself. Don't let that person control your whole existence. Let it teach you strength. Okay, well, yeah, I think I'm done. Thank you guys again so much for watching. I will see you guys very, very soon.